Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian for Live and Invest Overseas, and today we're looking at some of Colombia's lesser-known gems. A few of the cities in Colombia are very well known to Americans at this point, but these lesser-known alternatives provide a huge opportunity for amazing lifestyles and super bargain costs of living. Starting with Santa Marta, which is Colombia's calmer, cheaper Caribbean alternative. For those seeking a little bit more relaxation and tranquility than popular Cartagena might offer, there's another coastal Colombian city less than 200 miles away. It's cheaper, more geographically diverse, and less worse for wear by international tourists. The savviest bargain hunters right now are looking east of Cartagena, such an impressive city, to a place that we have been calling the other Cartagena. Founded in 1525 by Spanish conquistadors, Santa Marta, the other Cartagena, is actually the oldest city in Colombia and in South America. It was also the death place of the most important South American in history, Simón Bolívar. His retirement villa is just a short drive from the city center. But as I said, it's also a much more affordable option than Cartagena, despite offering the exact same sandy coast, calm waters, excellent diving, and energetic culture that this bigger, well-known city does. 15 years ago, the town was a work in progress, and it was still pretty rough around the edges, especially in certain areas. Today, though, after more than a decade of investment and focus, it's a completely different story, and Santa Marta is now poised to become a brand name city on the Caribbean. If this is the first time you've heard of it, you're probably not alone, but for Colombians, it is hardly a secret. While Santa Marta and Cartagena share a similar aesthetic, they are very different in character, and Santa Marta is definitely where locals go to holiday as opposed to international tourists. Santa Marta is less than half the size of Cartagena, and it has a natural backdrop that few places on Earth can match. The Caribbean to the north and the west, Tayrona National Park to the east, and Colombia's Sierra Nevada mountain range to the south, it hardly gets any better in any direction you're looking. And thanks to these mountains, Santa Marta's climate is a little bit cooler than Cartagena's, which is a nice relief for those of us who don't love the heat every day. Scattered around it are some of the most spectacular beaches that Colombia has to offer. As I say, locals are already well aware. This is hardly a secret to them, so this is where locals come, and it has much more of a family feel and much more of an authentic local feel than Cartagena sometimes can. There's also upscale shopping, fine dining in and around the vibrant colonial historic center, which is full of those beautiful Spanish colonial whitewashed buildings. The architecture, the cathedral is one of the most beautiful on any continent. These are things you can almost take for granted in any Spanish colonial city in the Americas, but Santa Marta has this amazing backdrop to back it all up. Most of the city visitors, as I've said, are Colombians, so there's less of an international tourist market here. You won't see those party buses that roam around the streets of Cartagena constantly. You won't be quite as pestered by local vendors who want to sell tourist things on the street. It's definitely a more quiet feel than Cartagena. For those looking for a colonial Caribbean city with a bit less hustle and bustle than the famous Cartagena, then Santa Marta is your place. Next up is Barranquilla, the fourth largest city in Colombia, a population of about 2.34 million. It's the biggest city on the Caribbean coast and the third biggest port on this coast, which is significant today and also historically. The port has always been the most important part of this city and played a major role in its development economically, historically. It's been used for trading goods internationally throughout the Caribbean Sea and inside of Colombia itself using the Magdalena River since colonial times. So this has always been a very, very important city. And it's also famous, probably more so today, for its massive carnival festival, which is held in the days before Ash Wednesday, when the lively colors and spirited people dance around and have fun throughout the city. It's really the epicenter of carnival celebrations in Colombia, and for those days prior to Ash Wednesday, there's a huge festival with lots of food and dancing. But in fact, the earliest festivities, including the processions and parades, will actually begin in January. Around 500 folk groups, international artists, and many more tourists are attracted to the festival every year. The rest of the year, though, the city still does have an animated nightlife, cultural scene, and plenty of historic sightseeing to take advantage of. The Gran Malecón, which is like a boardwalk along the Magdalena River, is a huge stretch of park and boardwalk with restaurants, playgrounds, athletic facilities, cultural activities, and a wonderful place to spend any day, no matter your age. Barranquilla has countless churches and, of course, its colonial architecture, which, as I said, is a little bit standard, but it's always a beautiful way to be living in a city. city to be surrounded by beautiful architecture. Plus, the city has a great bus system, which is easy to use and will get you all across the city and is pretty comfortable. Armenia, Colombia, which is a place that you might not have heard of, but it is in Western Colombia, surrounded by the Andes, and it's part of the famous Colombia Coffee Triangle. The historic center is part of UNESCO's coffee cultural landscape. And surprise, surprise, coffee is kind of the culture here. This is what there is to do, whether you're a tourist or you're living here. But really, Armenia is a main center of Colombia's economy. It helps produce most of the coffee that comes out of the country. And so there's a rich history and culture here. There's colorful architecture, great weather, and an abundance of nature. Of course, plenty of coffee plantations to go on tours. You'll get plenty of hiking and horse riding opportunities here in and around these areas, as well as lots of hot springs up in the mountains. There's a botanical garden, butterfly house, bird observatory. The hummingbird feeders, I'm told, are a big favorite here. Plenty of museums that are offered throughout the garden. The stunning architecture in the old historic center is best explored on foot, as it would be anywhere. Plaza Bolivar, for example, in the middle of the city is a great place to play chess. I would definitely recommend a walking tour starting from there. There's also a local gold museum, which is a fascinating place to learn about the local culture, history, and the importance of gold in the region. Be sure to check out all of the traditional and neo churches and the countless parks to relax in across the city. This is a relaxed setting with adventurous outings as options. So if you're looking for kind of a quiet place to live, a little bit off of the beaten path, a little bit outside of the tourism hotspots, but with plenty of opportunities to get close to nature, then this is definitely one of the top choices. Just an hour or two are some of the best national parks in the country, and you're only about a 5-hour drive from the coast near Buenaventura. And so all of those breathtaking beaches and aquatic diversions that you could imagine would be available there. All right, that takes us about halfway through. We're about to get to the remainder of our top lesser known gems in Colombia, but I want to take the opportunity to say that if you are interested in Colombia, whether it's as a digital nomad, a parent raising kids, a retiree, or just somebody looking for a new adventure in life, make sure to join us for our one-day Colombia workshop to learn about everything you need to know for moving to or investing in Colombia. You'll meet all the experts and service providers that you'd need to move here. You'll also hear from expats who've already done so. This is a live event, so you can ask all your questions as they come to you. Don't miss out. If Colombia is on your radar at all, please click the link to find out more. All right, let's move on to Cali. Cali is actually a little bit more well-known probably than some of these other destinations. It's in the Valle del Cauca in the south of Medellin. It's Colombia's third largest city with around 2.5 million inhabitants, and it's located near the equator, but in altitude of almost 3,300 feet. So its climate is agreeable and doesn't really change much throughout the year. Afternoons can be hot, but that sunset brings a refreshing breeze that sweeps through the city, so it's a pretty comfortable place to spend time. And early mornings are crisp and perfect for nice brisk walks. In Cali, urban development and nature are effortlessly intertwined. Even near the major thoroughfares, you'll fall asleep to the little chirping of tiny frogs outside your window, and you'll wake up to birds singing. Hummingbirds, which are a big part of living in the mountains, will, visit you to snatch little bits of fruit or juice off of your breakfast plate if you eat outside, which is quite common as the climate is so wonderful. Most people do spend most of their time outside. Luckily, enormous shade trees, which are thoughtfully left all over the city, provide relief throughout the day whenever it gets a little bit too hot. And some of these things might be reminding you of Medellin, and you wouldn't be alone. Cali is constantly compared with Medellin, but Cali has more green spaces than Medellin, which already has plenty for itself. But Cali has really done a wonderful job of preserving its trees. They're towering palms that run down the middle of wide boulevards. Shade trees drape themselves over the narrower streets, providing so much relief in the midday sun. And everywhere you go, you'll encounter parks, paths, jogging trails, green spaces of all kinds, especially on the south side of the city. You won't find a large expat community in Cali as you would in Medellin, but many people here do speak some English, and many will make an effort to use it if you need to. But you'll also be surprised throughout the country, even not just specific to Cali, by the number of locals that will have strong ties to the United States. Many will have family there, many have spent extended stays there, and in anybody's experience, including my own, you'll never feel unwelcome here as a gringo, quite the contrary. But Cali can't rival Medellin for cultural activities. It has a little zoo, a small gold museum, a butterfly center, center, a little anthropology museum, and a replica of the Christ the Redeemer statue overlooking the city. But this is definitely a smaller city and can't compete on the cultural level of, say, Medellin or Bogota. It is also widely acknowledged as the world capital of salsa dancing, not the food. If you can swing dance, salsa is easy enough to pick up. Just loosen up the hips and lace up your boogie shoes. Cali's real draws are its understated beauty, its health-conscious lifestyle, and the caleños themselves, the local people themselves, plus the low cost of living. Across the board, Cali is much cheaper than Medellin, not surprising considering it's smaller and less well-known. Even on the more affluent south side, housing costs are more than reasonable. Rental rates are about 25 to 30% less than in Medellin. So this is a great alternative to Medellin. If it sounded like Medellin ticked all your boxes, but maybe has gotten a little bit out of your price range, this is a good place to look. Next up, we have Pereira, which is a very walkable city, depending on where you decide to live in the city. And again, the weather here is said to be about perfect. It's at an elevation of about 1,500 meters and has beautiful weather year-round, warm, pleasant days, and cool, fresh nights. Plus, this one again is part of Colombia's coffee region and the coffee triangle of the country. There are nearby hot springs, picturesque little pueblos within a couple hours, countless little fincas, which are small farms, kind of like estates or country homes, and the surrounding areas, which make for great getaways from this little city. It's also a great jumping off point to some of the top nature preserves in the country. The water here is drinkable, has well-maintained roads, dependable phone service, electricity, high-speed internet, as do most of the cities that we talk about in Colombia. And again, you'll find lots of shopping options from the little tiendas to upscale boutiques, along with several large modern shopping malls. It's a great place to spend your time with a sizzling nightlife that draws visitors from around the coffee region. And the real estate here is definitely an active market that has been undervalued. So a good place to look for bargains if you're interested in a mountain getaway. Finally, on our list, we have Popoyan, which is definitely one of the lesser known places that we talk about. This is far from the Caribbean in Colombia's southern Sierra, and you'll find this little colonial hidden treasure. It's at an altitude of just about 1,700 meters and enjoys a mild spring-like climate all year round, as do all of these mountain havens. The historic center is built around the central plaza in the typical Spanish colonial style. It serves as the bustling social center for the city from 6 a.m. onward, and the beautiful cathedral overlooks the square from one end, and the beautiful architecture extends outward throughout the entire downtown area. What's really remarkable about Popoyan is that all the buildings are uniformly white in color with a gold trim. Even the street lamps and accents and signs match this color scheme, which is maintained consistently throughout the historic center. So it makes for a really interesting visual architecture. Popoyan is a very comfortable place where people can feel like they can really settle in and integrate. You will see some tourists, which explains the presence of the nice restaurants and hotels, but really, by and large, this is a place that you would call home more than call a tourist spot. It's far more reserved and tranquil than most of the Spanish colonial counterparts, especially on the Caribbean. If you were choosing a colonial environment in Colombia, Popoyan is at the top of the list for many who are seeking a little bit more of an authentic lifestyle with fewer expats, fewer tourists, and a little bit of that nice weather, that springtime weather, and a pleasant mountain setting. One of the other important differences between Popoyan, Cartagena, and Santa Marta is the property prices. So this unsung city, Popoyan, has property prices that are about half of those costs of Santa Marta and about a third or a quarter of those in Cartagena. So if you're looking for a colonial bargain, Popoyan is the clear choice. All right, what do you think about Colombia? Have you been to any of these cities? Would you consider a new life in Colombia? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more from Live and Invest Overseas every week.